This morning we're here to talk about soft on crime policies. I think now, looking across the country, seeing many of these recent tragedies, it's apparent soft on crime policies do not work. In most all of Florida, we have record crime lows that continue to go down. Murder rates decreasing, violent crime rates decreasing, and it's because we back our law enforcement and we give them the tools they need to be successful. Unfortunately, here in Orlando, we still have a pattern of soft on crime policies that are endangering families. Non-prosecution policies that are putting our families and our kids in grave danger. We've had a couple recent examples here with State Attorney Monique Worrell, where she has decided not to press charges in some of the most gruesome and horrific child predator cases. Recently, there was a man on a park bench masturbating while facing a bunch of kids playing at a public splash pad. There was video evidence of this, witness testimony, a father there with his 2-year-old just feet from this offender. The gentleman committed this gross act and then exposed himself in public. And while we had all of this evidence, an open shut case, State Attorney Worrell decided charges did not need to be brought. She gave this guy a free walk in the park, and now other kids are in jeopardy of having a tragic incident happen to them. In another case that my office was prosecuting, an individual that possessed and shared tons of gruesome child pornography videos, not just images, but videos of toddlers getting raped and abused. She dropped all charges. Let this guy go free. He made it almost out of the country up at the Canadian border. Thankfully, our office got him again, and we are prosecuting again, and we'll make sure that he spends the rest of his life behind bars. Because when it comes to these dangerous child predators, there's only one thing to do: prosecute to the fullest, ensure the longest sentences, where legally appropriate, seek the death penalty. But at the end of the day, we have to protect our kids. So I'm glad to be joined this morning by Congresswoman Laurel Lee. She is a former prosecutor herself. She's a mom. She's tough on crime. When she was Secretary of State in the DeSantis administration, working with Brad here, we kind of got the gang back together. They launched the Election Crimes and Integrity Unit that's prosecuted dozens of people across the state that have engaged in voter fraud. We now have the most secure elections in the country. We're the blueprint that every other state wants to follow, and it's because we enforce the law. It's not rocket science. Enforcing the law is not a partisan agenda. It's not Democrat. It's not Republican. It's black and white. Enforce the law, put dangerous people away off the streets, crime lows go down, and our kids are safe. So I'll let her come up first and share a few things. Thank you for being here, Congresswoman.
Well, thank you, Attorney General Uthmeier. It is indeed a pleasure to get to be here today with you, with statewide prosecutor McVay, Chief Williams, and all of the other men and women who are here who are committed to keeping Florida safe. Let me start with something that we can all agree on. Domestic violence cases and gun cases are not minor. They are the red flashing lights that tell us when violence is going to escalate. When a state attorney prevents these types of cases from being reviewed or lets a repeat offender out while awaiting trial, that is a public safety problem. Every charging decision is a public safety decision. It determines whether families are protected or whether danger is being put back out on the streets. And here's what we know. A small group of repeat offenders drive most of the violent crime in our communities. If prosecutors let those cases slide, if we look the other way, those same offenders will be in the headlines again and again. And we don't have to imagine the consequences. We can see them. On Monday, I will be in Charlotte, North Carolina, where a young Ukrainian refugee, Irina Zarutska, was murdered on a bus by a repeat violent offender who'd been allowed to go free. This tragedy wasn't the result of one mistake. It was the result of a chain of decisions, delays, and excuses that kept a dangerous man out on the street. That's what happens when a system treats violent recidivists as if they are harmless, and we cannot allow that to happen here in Florida. As a former prosecutor and a former judge, I know that our justice system works best when it is based on evidence and data, not emotion, when we can separate the violent recidivist from the person who can actually be rehabilitated, when we allow law enforcement officers to do their jobs, and when we can count on prosecutors who will do theirs. Prosecutors who respect the oath of office they take to enforce the law, not to make it, not to ignore it, but to enforce it. Because decisions to ignore criminal conduct erode public trust. No cash bail policies don't ask the only question that matters: is this person dangerous? So in Congress, we are working hand in hand with our colleagues here at the state to ensure that our partnership is strong, to support the call to protect our communities across America, to bolster safety and security at our prisons so correctional officers are kept safe, and to require prosecutors' offices to share the numbers. How many cases are prosecuted? How many cases are declined? How many gun cases are pled down? So that the public knows what's happening in their communities. So I'm proud to join my colleagues here today and so many of the men and women of law enforcement to keep that commitment to the American people. At the end of the day, this isn't complicated. Keep violent offenders off the street. Be honest about the results and use common sense. That's how we protect families. That's how we give real second chances to those who can succeed. And that's how we restore trust in our justice system.
So let me be clear, we're not going to stand by and allow the state attorney to fail to do her job. This is systematic abuse. It is gross negligence. She took an oath. She's not delivering on that oath, and we're going to step up and do what we can to hold her accountable and to protect our citizens. So we're calling on her, this creep at the splash pad. We better have charges brought again. If not, we'll be working with the governor's office to reassign this case to another circuit where we will ensure that justice is served. This just cannot happen. There's a job to do. You take an oath to the people. You've got to do that job. Next, we'll hear from statewide prosecutor Brad McVay.
Thank you, General. Thank you for being here. I want to talk about the facts as they are in the first case the General mentioned. A father, his 2-year-old son, went to a local park, a splash pad, for a day of fun. What they encountered was a man less than 50 feet away on a park bench masturbating. The incident took about 4 to 5 minutes. The father did everything that you would ask a father to do. He didn't escalate the situation. He didn't take matters into his own hands. He went, he called 911, he watched the children and made sure they were safe, he took photographs, and the law enforcement did everything you would want them to do. They responded quickly, they talked to witnesses, they found the suspect, they apprehended the suspect, and they arrested the suspect. The father was shocked when he got a call less than 30 days later and learned the case had been dismissed. And the reason given was it lacked prosecutable merit. He wondered, to me, frustrated and shocked, how in the state of Florida a man could masturbate for 5 minutes in front of a 2-year-old and that not be a crime. He explained his story. He explained the case. And we listened. We took his account. We read the reports. And the father believes this is a case that should be prosecuted. And the Office of Statewide Prosecution, we do too. This is a case worthy of prosecution. It's worth the fight for the children for law enforcement, for the dad, for the community, and for the state of Florida. And I let the father know we at the Office of Statewide Prosecutor, the Attorney General, we will do everything in our power to fight for children, for parents, for law enforcement, and for the community. We are calling on Ms. Laurel to reconsider her decision and do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. And to round things out, we've got Matt Williams, Florida Highway Patrol.
Good morning. I'm Chief Matthew Williams, and I currently serve as the Southern Region Commander for Patrol Operations for the Florida Highway Patrol. And I just want to briefly speak about the vital role that prosecutors play in Florida's judicial system. In our state, each judicial circuit elects a state attorney, and their responsibility is both clear and essential. They represent the people of Florida in criminal cases. Every day, the men and women of law enforcement put themselves in harm's way to apprehend offenders in order to keep our community safe. Once an arrest is made, prosecutors step in to review the evidence, determine the charges, and bring those cases before the courts. This role is to carry forward the work of law enforcement to ensure that offenders are held accountable and that victims see justice. Under the leadership of Governor Ron DeSantis, the mission of law enforcement is clear: to protect Floridians, uphold the law, and to ensure accountability. But this mission cannot be fulfilled by law enforcement alone. Our work must be matched with equal resolve from our prosecutorial partners who carry forward these cases we bring to them. This is not about convictions, it's about fairness, it's about accountability, and it's about protecting the public. Prosecutors must weigh the facts, apply the law, and make decisions in the interest of justice. And just as importantly, they must work hand in hand with law enforcement from a partnership to ensure crimes are fully investigated, cases are properly presented, and that justice is ultimately served. When law enforcement and prosecutors stand united, our communities are safer, public trust is stronger, and criminals get the unmistakable message that Florida is in fact a law and order state. And quite frankly, every Floridian should have the expectation that our prosecutors and our elected state attorneys have the ability to understand and that they will apply and uphold the rule of law. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Governor DeSantis and our Attorney General for their unwavering support of those who work day and night to keep this great state safe. Thank you.
We got the best law enforcement in the country. We stand by them. I know that the governor's been their greatest champion. I thank them for everything they do. Thank you again, Congresswoman, for being here. We appreciate the fight you're bringing in D.C., especially when it comes to public safety and protecting our kids. Thank you, Brad, and your team. Thank you guys for the work you're doing. All right, I think we got time for just a couple questions. We're in a bit of a time crunch, but we'll take a few if anybody has any. Yes. Well, we're gonna work to get this case reassigned if she chooses not to. I mean, you've all heard the facts. It's a pretty horrific situation. I hope she will change her mind and decide to do her job. If not, we will do it for her. These are just a couple examples of cases that are not being brought. There are still non-prosecution policies in writing that are on the books. I know she's made excuses, not having resources to address the cases, to address the backlog. We've provided several prosecutors to help that have cut down, on hundreds of cases, and we just want to get the job done. At the end of the day, if you're willing to enforce the law and put bad guys away, I got no problem. But if you're going to let creeps like this go free, we are going to have a problem. Yes.
Attorney General, as a mother myself, it's concerning what you said. So, what are some words that you just want parents to know in Florida, in Central Florida?
Sure. Well, evil is out there. My number one priority is protecting our kids. We've made that very clear today with the internet and social media. That is the greatest danger. It is right under the nose of parents. Parents are the first line of defense. If you don't know what your kids are doing with their devices, go home and figure it out. We continue to make dozens of arrests, and the predators are getting access to the kids through apps like Snapchat, who our office has sued, Roblox, a gaming app. We've got investigations going into other apps as well, because right now it's too easy for predators to pretend to be kids, to use fake pictures, to tie into kids' vulnerabilities, and ultimately start to solicit personal information. So parents are the first line of defense. We're going to do everything we can to combat this evil, but it's there. Since I took office, our team has been involved in over 1,000 arrests involving child predators. Last week alone in Polk County, we arrested over 240 individuals in a sting that were either engaging in human trafficking, prostitution, or preying upon kids. Of those 240 arrests, the defendants combined for almost 700 priors. 700 priors. Just shows, again, that this repeat offense, soft on crime leniency, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. When people do these lewd and heinous things, they need to be held accountable. We need to put them away for as long as we can.
Now, General, you presented this before against State Attorney Laurel. What makes this different this time? Because, again, you've offered assistance and it's been brushed away.
What makes this different? Well, I wish it was different. It really isn't. It's kind of the same old, offenders, some violent, being allowed to walk free. The facts of this case are so egregious, it is an open, shut case. Why would you not bring charges? You've got video evidence, witness testimony. You've got this dad that saw this feet away, made sure all the other kids were going to be safe, handled it correctly. Justice needs to be served. We can't let this happen, or others think they can get away with doing the same things.
And these are two very specific cases. What are the names of these defendants?
We can get you that detail on the side if you'd like it. Yes.
Attorney Laurel has been removed from office before. Is that a possibility going forward in these cases?
Well, it's an authority the governor has, so I'm not going to get out ahead of him or speak for him. She was reelected by the people, but we continue to see a failure of oath, a failure of duty. So, we're going to look at this. We're going to look at ways in the short run to get cases not being prosecuted out of this jurisdiction where we can ensure they are. But as far as other things, we'll have to monitor and see what happens.